up? Welcome to our new longer format show. So I stated in the Facebook post that we were going to do something a little more longer, thanks to some of the feedback that we've received from you, the great fans of ours. You said you guys wanted to see more longer format shows. Well, here it is. We've got an awesome show for you guys today. We have Jason Knight on the program, talking about his fight with Artem Lobov this past weekend at BKFC 5. This week's show is going to be kind of BKFC themed, because it was an awesome show. It was one of the best fights I've seen in a long time, and I think a lot of people would really fall into that same boat. Again, we have Jason Knight talking about it. We're going to do a breakdown of the entire card with myself, Nick Portella, Jeff Houston, and the Great Stitch. Don't miss that. Then we're actually going to follow that with a talk with one-on-one with Dave Feldman, the owner and CEO of BKFC, the man himself. He's going to talk about the card, talk about the fight, talk about what's next for the company. And it's a great time. Guys, please, if you like the show, please go back, smash the like button, smash that subscribe button, share. It helps us out so much. We truly appreciate everybody who tunes in and watches our show. And with that said, before we get to Jason Knight, I'll show you guys a quick highlight of the main event of BKFC 5. Jason Knight, welcome to the show, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just sitting around, just chilling right now. I just got through working on my little truck, and ain't got much else going on.
Man, let's just cut right to the chase, man. It was such a war, and obviously, I'm sure you've seen the stuff online, man. You've seen the memes and everything like that. It's, the war with Artem. I guess I don't want to talk too much. I kind of want to hear your own perspective. How did you see the fight going?
Man, first round, we went out there, and my coach had me working on this thing called a scoop hook, and it's where I act like I'm going low to the body, and I throw a hook up high, and I threw it. It landed pretty decent. I hit my little angle, and I threw a jab. Artem slipped that jab, put his hands down, and hit me with a couple good punches. And I was like, oh, shit, his stand-up played better than I thought it was. And I was like, ain't no fucking way he just hit me. Because like, he was quick, man. It surprised me. I was like, damn, I did not think he was going to get inside that quick. And the next thing you know, like, we hit another angle. I hit him with a check hook, a left hook, and dropped him. Well, when it dropped him, like natural instinct, I run up. I was trying to close that distance. I was hoping he was going to try to pop right back up. I was going to hit him a few more times to try to close the deal. But when I tried to close the distance, the referee stopped it, pushed me away, and I let him stand up, to go right back at it. I wind up, I catch him with another hook, and I drop him. Well, Arm was smart, man. I'm telling you, the dude was smart. Every time that he hit the canvas, he would hop up and he would look at the referee like he was fucking stupid. I didn't fall. I slipped, stuff like that. Well, he didn't count my second knockdown as a knockdown. Arm knocked me down once in that round with an uppercut. It was a pretty clean little knockdown. I think I got off balance, got caught with a pop right back up. I feel like I won that first round. All right. Second and third round, they were both pretty close rounds, but I would say you could give second and third to Artem. Fourth round, I won. Fifth round, I definitely won. Fifth round, I took over. He was done by the fifth round. If we would have had another 30 seconds, another 10 seconds, I would have made Artem fall in that fifth round. But I feel like I won the first, the fourth, and the fifth. Whenever I went back and I watched it over and over again, and like it was such a close fight. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying I ran away with the fight or anything. I don't say that I won a unanimous decision. I think it should have been a split decision and it should have went my way, especially being that it was my hometown. I brought the whole crowd there. You know what I'm saying? The fight should have went my way. But the way it works, Artem, he signed a 3-fight deal. Paulie Malignaggi signed a 3-fight deal. They were already looking at that fight. And I had signed a 1-fight deal. I just wanted to fight for him the once because it was in Biloxi. Why would they give the fight to the guy who's not signed to him? They're going to give it to it's a close fight. It could go either way. Of course, they're going to give it to Artem. That's what happened. In the long run, once I think about it from like a business standpoint, I'm not mad at them because they did what they were supposed to do for their company. And I don't necessarily feel like I've got robbed now that I go back and I watch the fight. It was such a close fight. It could have been either way. Do I think that they should have gave you Artem a unanimous decision? Fuck no. No. He might could have squeezed out a split decision. That's if they don't count the knockdown, the first knockdown, the second knockdown in the first round. I knocked him down twice in the first round. That should have gave me the first round. But they counted it as I got a knockdown, he got a knockdown, and somehow they gave him that first round. How do you end up flat on your back 10 seconds into the first round, end up flat on your back again in the first round, and supposedly you won it? I don't understand it. I'm not mad at it whatsoever. I'm not mad at the organization. I'm not mad at Artem. We went out there and we put on a war that's going to be talked about for years to come. He gave me the type of fight that I've always been looking for, and I'm happy. I have nothing at all to hang my head about.
Yeah, well, it kind of looked like, and obviously you would know a little bit better because you were there. At the end of the fifth round, it almost looked like it was literally just his will holding him up. From your perspective, those last 15, 20 seconds, I mean, you were going everything you had. In your mind, was he out of gas completely, and it was just a matter of getting to finish the fight?
I honestly think, in that fifth round, by the time we got to the fifth round, he was just like, man, I just got to finish. I can't let him finish me. And, when I believe, like, right there close to the end where you're talking about the last 30 seconds or whatever, I believe had he been out closer to the center of the ring, I could have dropped him. But every time I was hitting, his back was going against the roach, and the roach was holding him up. And fucking, that helps. If you have something to help you keep your balance, it helps you stay up. And I honestly think that if I had him out in the center, I could have at least dropped him and possibly got the win from a knockdown,
Right.
Was there anything that he did that surprised you?
Man, yes, his boxing skill was way better than I thought it was going to be. He was unorthodox as fuck. I knew that coming in. I knew he was going to be unorthodox. I knew he was going to throw weird angle punches. But I never thought that they would land like they did. And I never thought that he'd be anywhere near as fast as he was. So, he was way better boxer than I thought he would be. And, you know, and he was a lot better at getting me into that brawl than I thought he would be. Like, I thought that no matter what, I would stay smart, stay technical, and I did for the most part. I did a lot of stuff a lot better than I normally do. But I could have kept those punches a lot straighter and fucking probably landed a lot cleaner punches.
So now everyone, the majority, is coining your fight already the greatest bare knuckle fight in modern day. They said that about a fight at the first event, and now that one kind of slid down into number 2 since you and Artem went at it. The real question is this: are you interested in doing it again? Because you went from first fight to fan favorite in 5 2-minute rounds.
Man, the way I look at it is like this. David Feldman, after my last fight, he announced that Artem was going to be fighting probably in June.
Right.
And he said that Jason Knight deserves the winner of them too. So I'm not going to settle for a fucking thing less than that. I'm either going to get the winner out of them two, or you're going to give me a rematch for Artem, so that way next time I can fucking do it right. One of the two.
Do you feel, I kind of made this comparison on social media, and I've heard a few people kind of throw it out there. It kind of feels like, I know it's kind of early to put this out there, but I feel like your fight with Artem was very comparable to the Forrest Griffin Stephan Bonner fight in terms of putting it kind of on the map. Not that people weren't watching bare knuckle before, but I feel like you guys put such a buzz in the air before the fight leading up to it, and such a buzz after the fight. Like, people are still buzzing over the fight. I mean, I guess maybe from your end, from where you're sitting, that's how I equate it. I feel like this is the Griffin Bonner fight for BKFC between you two.
I mean, I'm not sure if that's how it is. What I look at is like, I can look at that fight and tell you right now, just from being a fight fan, watching it unbiased, like not giving a damn if it's me in there or it's Artem in there, just watching a fight, raw form fight, period. I can tell you right now, that's gonna be something that people fucking talk about for years and years and years and years and years and years to come. That people are gonna fucking. Whenever they bring up bare knuckle, they're like, but did you see Jason Knight on Laveau fight that one time? Did you see that shit? And every time they bring up, some of the greatest fights ever, some of the most wars, they're gonna be like, did you see Jason Knight fight Artem Laveau? You know what I'm saying? And that's what it means to me. That's what I care about. Like, I don't care that I'm bare knuckle on the map, or I don't care that that everybody's excited about, the fight right now. I care that, 50 years from now, whenever my grandkids are thinking about bare knuckle, somebody's like, hey, dude, did you see your fucking grandpa back in the day? Your grandpa used to be a bad son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's what I care about. Like, whenever I'm 85, could you imagine the fucking stories I'm gonna have to tell, dude? Like, that's what I love. That's what I do this shit for. That's what I live for.
The other thing I wanted to point out, because there are still a few people not quite on the bandwagon. You guys did show a nice display of respect before the 5th round started. I always like to point that out, especially when there's a big lead up to a fight and it's such a war. I mean, that level of respect was still there. You shook hands, you hugged it out, and then you went out and put on a 5th round that, like you said, people are going to remember forever.
And Artem was a class act. Before I ever met the guy, I'm not gonna lie to you at all. I did not like him. I didn't care for him at all. Just from social media, like it's crazy. Like, how quick you can judge a book by its cover. Like how quick you can judge somebody by just some shit you see. Like, I thought for sure that whenever I met this motherfucker, he was going to be the biggest douchebag that you could ever think of. So I walk in, going into the little spot, the IP, and ready to start cutting my weight. Well, here we go. Here's the Artem and his fucking team. I'm like, oh god, here we go. I'm gonna get into a little argument right here in the middle of the fucking spot. And somebody turns around, like, oh, what's up, man? How's it going? What's up, buddy? I was like, what's up, man? How's it going? I was like, you having decent weight cut? He's like, yeah, it's not too bad, man. He said, I cut 5 last night. I got like 10 more to go. I was like, hey, I think I got about 10 altogether. And, we was just go in there and get that shit. I was like, hell yeah, let's go and get this shit done. And we sit there in the sauna together for fucking 30 minutes or an hour. And I don't do shit. And, he's a guy just like I am. Just fucking normal guy. You can talk and bullshit about anything, just like me and you can. Fucking just surprise the hell out of me. And 100% respectful before the fight, 100% respectful during the fight and after the fight. From now on, if I'm not fighting the guy, I'm gonna root for him.
There you go.
So, any other injuries, Jason, other than the bruises and the cuts, or any other? Did you sustain any other injuries during the fight?
I lost one fucking tooth. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
We saw you spit it out during the fight.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks, but shit. So I heard that I lost 4 teeth. I heard I lost my whole bottom row, but check this out. Whole bottom row is there. This one over here is gone long before the fucking fight. That one right there, it's gone. But yeah, actually, I take that back. This one right here, it was broke off before the fight. He broke it off a little more, made it a little worse. But this one over here, yeah, he made that bitch disappear. I get that. But he made that one disappear. But it's no big deal. This right here, I guess that's when that tooth came out. Went through my lip here. Went through my lip somewhere up here, right here. Went through my lip down here a little bit. No big deal. This fucking flesh wound.
There you go.
Yeah. I went ahead, after they got done sewing me up, they was trying to put me in an ambulance. I said, fuck no, we're not doing that. I was like, I'm not going in an ambulance. And my mom was sitting there talking to the lady in the back. She's like, I don't care what he says. What do you recommend? And the lady was like, well, I recommend that you put him in an ambulance because if you take him to the hospital and something happens, we're not going to be there to take care of him. And my mom was like, Jay, you got to get in the ambulance. I was like, Mama, I'm not getting in no fucking ambulance. I was like, I'll let them drive me up there to the hospital. We'll make sure I don't have no concussions and shit. And I'm going to the house. Like, I'm telling you right now, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. I just got a bunch of cuts on my face.
Right.
I'm going to the hospital just to shut you up. So we go up there. I got a CAT scan. No head trauma.
Good.
My hands, I got both of them x-rayed. Neither one of them broke.
Yeah.
This one right here, the swelling's just about gone down now. It was swollen like hell, kind of popping, cracking a little bit, and it hurt, but it still works fine.
What's next for you, Jason, after this?
Next, this weekend coming up, April the 13th, I think it's the 13th, but yeah, my whole team, Jason Knight MMA, we're going over here to New Orleans to do a Naga Jiu-Jitsu tournament.
Okay.
Of course, I wanted to do the tournament, but I'm pretty sure I can't. But I'm going to take my team over there. I'm going to make sure that, all these guys get their first tournament in. They're a whole bunch of white belts and shit. And I open my little gym January of this year, and this will be the first thing that they get to do. Yeah. I have one guy in my gym. He had his first MMA fight weekend before my fight. He won. Now we're going to go over here and kick some ass in this jiu-jitsu tournament. And then after that, I'm going to start trying to get into EBI, combat jiu-jitsu, anything like that, and start trying to work on my black belt. I want to get my black belt and learn different things to teach these kids. So I don't want to ever run out, of shit to teach them. So I'm gonna, of course, get my black belt, try to get better there, try to work on my wrestling, and then maybe later on this year, beginning of next year, take another MMA fight.
Yeah.
Of course, in the meantime, I'm gonna keep working my boxing because it's getting so much better. And if Bare Knuckle wants to give me Polly or Artem, I'd be glad to get in there and fucking go at it again.
100%. All right, sir. Well, we appreciate your time, man. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and appreciate you putting yourself on the line, man. This past weekend against Artem, man, it was an absolute war, and just like you said, it will be talked about for years to come. No doubt about that, sir. And we thank you so much for coming on the show, Jason Knight.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one, man. All my sponsors, man, thank y'all so much for the fight. For helping me get there. Comfort on the Coast, Performance out of Upholstery. Let me thank Dreamers Construction, Comfort Mart. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out. I love y'all, man. Thank y'all so much. My nerdy neighbors, thank y'all. Everybody, I love y'all for everything. Appreciate y'all on the show, man. Have a good day.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too, Jason.
Hey guys, while you're here on our YouTube channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit. And stop by our website at combatinsidersmedia.com. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of the show. Jeff Houston, Stitch, welcome to the show. Obviously, Bare Knuckle just happened. You guys have been there from the beginning, such a huge part of it. I guess where I want to start with this, and feel free to jump in when you want, is... we always say the next show is always the biggest show, but did this not really have just like a buzz feel to it, and it's still buzzing?
I think the whole promotion started with Paulie Malignaggi, obviously, talking a lot of mess to Artem Lobov. That kind of brought out a lot of the interest of the fans, and I think a lot of fans tuned in because of that, but throwing that aside, I think what happened that night, and I think Jeff could attest to that, turned out to be exactly what bare knuckle fighting is. It's a hell of a sport, and I think the fans love it.
It was the epitome of what people were looking for. It was exactly what we needed. We needed that quintessential event that shows everybody what this sport is all about and what these athletes are all about. And I'm going to tell you, the hype train behind this had cars attached. It was awesome.
Yeah. Wow. So, was Saturday night the biggest show? I mean, was it definitely the biggest one you guys have done so far?
Absolutely. Absolutely, without question.
Well, I got to give, I have to question that. I mean, yeah, definitely the main event was definitely the one that took it up top of the list. But, I think the shows that we've done, even the one in Cancun, Mexico, there's always excitement. Fighters make the fights. And then the shows that I participated in, there's been some great fights. Obviously, the main event on this one, really kind of took everything above what the people expected and what I expected, so it definitely made us a big fan, but I'm glad it happened. And, people are putting the Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffith scenario to it, and I responded back to Jason Knight, and I let him know that, I did work Forrest's corner during that big epic fight. So to be involved with two historical fights like this will really change the demographics of bare knuckle fighting. I was just glad to be part of it.
Stitch, that's a good point, because I was actually talking about the same thing with Jason and just on social media. I thought it kind of had that same feel. Now, obviously, maybe it's too early to kind of say that, but, I thought the Jason Knight Artem Lobov is going to be to BKFC what Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner was to UFC at that time. So that's a great point that you brought up with that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Monday to Thursdays, actually, my weekends, my jobs are on weekends like Jeff, so Monday to Thursday, I'm kind of going by the gyms. I was at the Mayweather gym today, and, I was there Monday and the other gyms, and these are boxing gyms. And just like when the UFC first started, the boxing people weren't talking about the UFC, but now, after a while, they started asking me questions. Well, the whole thing in the boxing gyms today, or this week, has been the bare knuckle fight. So it's definitely making an impact in MMA sports, and and in all combative sports to include boxing.
Nick, what was a fight that stood out to you?
I want to say the main event because that stood out to everybody. There were so many good ones, like Chase Sherman and Sam Shoemaker was a good fight, and I mean Reggie Barnett just is an amazing fighter all around, and Johnny Bedford put on his performance. I like Sheena Starr's shirt. It's kind of funny, but
who didn't?
Right, it was insane. But that fight, I mean, since to start at the bottom and work up, I guess kind of. That fight kind of stuck out because she's been involved with combat sports so long. She's trained people. She's fought overseas. She's cornered. She was a corner and a cut person in Mexico, and now she's fighting on the card. So I thought it was kind of cool that not only was she on there win or lose, but it was even cooler that she kind of got to, she scored a knockout win in the second round, and she's always down to throw down, as we all know. Like that's not a surprise.
Well, it's just like what my buddy Sean Wheelock said when he wrapped up the fight, from cut woman to victory.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of an awesome transition.
Yeah, well, and you got to give her a little bit of, accolades on that as making history because nobody's ever done it. Active cut men going into combat or a combat fighter working cuts, so
True.
Props to Sheena for that. But, let me add also, if anybody really kind of represents what bare knuckle fighting is going to be, who's going to be at the top of the game, I got to give Chris Lieben a whole lot of props.
Absolutely.
Man, I told him that from get-go. I said, you are designed for this sport right here.
Guy's a T-Rex. I mean, 25 seconds, but thankfully, I mean, I shouldn't say T-Rex because he actually has a reach, but come on, 25 seconds with absolutely zero doubt. I mean, none whatsoever. He walked in with a hard look, and he left with a hard look, man. Chris Lieben, man, everybody's saying that he's reborn, but I don't see it as a rebirth. I see it as a new chapter because it's a completely different sport. So you can't say that the man is reborn because he wasn't reborn back into the sport in which he was synonymous by. It's a new chapter in his fight career.
So
yeah, no, you're great. And let me add to that also, Jeff, is I was talking to Antonio Tarver, one of the commentators, and he's bringing up Chris's record. He's bringing up the opponent's record. He says, how can I speak about these guys? Chris has whatever it is, 14 losses or whatever the numbers were. I said, it's not about winning or losing in this game. It's about understanding the mentality of crossing the line from being a boxer or an MMA fighter, and you literally cross that line in the mental aspect of it and the physical aspect, getting into bare-knuckle fights. That's the whole story, is what makes these guys cross that line and do what they do, just going at it toe-to-toe with nothing to protect the knuckles. So that is the story, and I think that's what makes these guys so modern-day gladiatorship.
I think Chris Lieben, great point, Sid. I think Chris Lieben was built for the sport. I mean, even when he was, in the UFC, you could always hear the commentators would always kind of stress that whenever Chris Lieben was kind of in the pocket with guys, it was almost like the more he would get hit, the tougher he became. It was really weird. Like, it was almost like the more damage he dealt out, the more damage he received, the more damage he dealt out. And I just think that that type of mindset, his fight style is perfect. I mean, if you could build a guy, if you could mold somebody, Chris Lieben has got to be up at the top for this sport.
100%. And, I always told people, I've worked many of Chris's fights during the UFC era, and you're right, man. If you hit him, he just turns on that extra energy. But, his head is about as big as a pumpkin, so you're not going to do no damage to this kid.
So what do we think about the rest of the tournament? So obviously Reggie Barnett and Johnny Bedford, are going to go on. Those were great fights in itself, but what do we think about Barnett versus Bedford? How do you guys see that playing out?
It's the fight that I wanted to see. It is absolutely the fight that I wanted to see because I know the backgrounds of both of these guys. I actually came up through the ranks, so to speak, with Johnny Bedford. We had the same blood and the same mud on the regionals and we both kind of came up together and had mutual successes. So it's kind of like watching your kids grow up. Not to say that I'm partial to Johnny Bedford, because I'm a huge fan of Reggie, and if we're talking educated hands, I have to give it to Reggie. But pushing the pace, I have to give it to Johnny, because Johnny pushes such a brutal pace. I mean, his nickname, he totally lives up to his nickname. So it's honestly, it's a coin toss for me. I can't give one over the other, because you've got a brutal pace with Johnny, but you got educated hands with Reggie. It's a tough one.
Yeah, that fight's going to be wild. The crazy part was it actually ended, like everybody has their prediction for a tournament. The masses said these two guys were going to be there at the end. And here they are. And I think I don't want to use this term. It might come off weird. Boxer versus brawler. Because Bedford's a boxer, but he's got that brawl about him where I'm willing to eat shots, but I will get you. I will get to you, and you're going to know I was there.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
So I don't know. I don't want to say who's going to win. I'll watch it. I'm going to see who wins. But it's hard to call, like you said, Jeff. How do you call it? You can't. You can't.
I mean, you really can't in that kind of in that kind of situation. But I really wouldn't even call it the boxer versus the brawler now, because these guys are choosing to be synonymous under the bare knuckle banner. So now these guys are bare knuckle fighters.
Right.
And that's how they want to be known. So whatever they did in their past, mutual careers, boxing, MMA, it's definitely give them the building blocks to get up to this point. But it's a different pace. It's a different world in there. So I look at it as two undefeated bare knuckle professionals getting ready to toe the line.
There you go.
Excuse me, the way I look at it, it's just like Jason Knight and Artem Leboeuf. It was such an epic fight and such a close fight that, and I always mention, and I've seen it many times in combat sports, that type of fight, whoever connects, at that point, that one shot that makes a difference in the game is going to win. Yeah. And the same thing with Reggie and Johnny Bedford is, and you're right, Reggie, skill-wise, I think of all the group, has the best boxing skills out there. But it takes a lot more than that. It's the heart of the giant, and Johnny Bedford definitely has that. And whoever gets off first and whoever makes the most dangerous impact is the one that's going to win. So I never predict fights. It's tough to predict them because you just never know.
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of talk about a small elephant in the room, and maybe you guys know where I'm going with this. Is the thing with Rusty Crowder at the end. Unfortunately, people were more talking about what happened after the fight, with Dave coming in the ring and talking what he was talking about, with running around the ring, cutting the pay, stuff like that. Now, we do know, because he stated that he never actually cut the pay, and then that maybe he kind of overreacted and there was a knee-jerk reaction. We know that. But I guess, what was y'all's initial impression of him getting in the ring and, saying that stuff?
Lighting a fire under their ass. Plain and simple. I think that's what he was trying to do, because, there's an old saying, the kids never learn until their money gets messed with. And sometimes when you kind of light that fire, and I think that Rusty, he kind of understood the way that he was going, but David is doing everything that he possibly can to inspire these fighters, to let them know that the fans aren't really looking for a feel out process in this kind of arena. They're looking to knuckle up. I mean, toe the line and knuckle up. That is the mantra of bare knuckle fighting championships. And I just think that he was lighting a fire. And you know how passionate David is. He's an uber passionate guy. And I don't think he said anything wrong. I just think that a lot of fans got a little irked with it. But, David came out, he cleared the record, he said that, it was all about knee-jerk reaction, but everybody got paid. So in the end, what are we bitching about?
Right.
Nothing.
Well, I think personally it's an educational format, and I think, Dave, did he cross the line? Yeah, maybe, he could have handled it a different way. Number one, a promoter cannot take money away from a fighter once the fighter gets in the ring. If anybody is going to deduct any money from any fighter, it's the athletic commission, and I think the most they could do is like 10, 20%. But nonetheless, it became a controversial moment that brought more attention to bare knuckle fights. So, turning a negative into a positive, that's exactly what happened. But I could understand, Dave's point is he wants to see action. And the old Pride days, if you guys remember, they used to have that card where they would give you a
yellow
caution,
card rule.
And the yellow card, and maybe that's something that they should implement, and with the understanding that if you get it, maybe you don't take it away and not do nothing with it. Maybe give it to the opponent. And but those are all learning curves that we're going through.
Good point. Sam Shoemaker, Chase Sherman. Great fight. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't agree with the ending. I didn't think it was a draw. I thought Shoemaker won it, maybe 3-2 rounds. I thought he did enough to win the fight. Went to the split draw. What are your guys' thoughts on that fight?
I had him winning 4 rounds, in my opinion, but I only went back and watched it one time. So I could have been off, but I think 3 were clear. But, who knows? It's different when you're sitting. We see it from the perfect pay-per-view camera, as to where when you're sitting ringside, you might have missed this punch or missed that or missed this. So it's not always. I don't think it's always like we want him to win. I think it's just how it is. It's the nature of the business. You can't see everything from every angle. I'm happy that at a bare minimum it was a draw and he didn't take a loss. From seeing it from our angle, and I'd be interested to see them do it again too. I mean, it was a good fight.
I agree, but the problem with it is that Sam started off his bare knuckle career with such a shot. I mean, talk about having to live setting the bar high. An 18-second haymaker that was thrown from hell to heaven, and that's a tough. That especially against someone like Eric Prindle, and now Sam has settled down into the more, I guess you could say, cautious fighter, and I hate to say it, that's not what people want to see, but he was more active, definitely more active in this fight than his last one. Absolutely sure. But as it comes to the draw, I was listening to the commentary, and they were kind of convinced that it was going to come out a draw.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good call, brother. You were right on point, because the way I looked at it, and I don't pick them win or lose. That's I look at cuts. But as I was looking at Sam fight, and you're absolutely right, my first thought is he was a little shell-shocked from his last fight and really didn't fight the way Sam Shoemaker, the way it could and would and will make him a star, is to go out there and just bang, bang, bang. And, I don't know if he got, went through new training and try to get a game plan and try to use it. But to me, the first impression that I had is that he was shell-shocked based on his last fight.
That very well, that could be the case. But I'll tell you, the one fight I feel like everyone needs to see again, Fiera Hart. Like, we wanted to see it. The cut is unfortunate, and that's when it becomes a safety issue. Like, if we think it's not, you won't be able to perform or defend yourself, I get it. But I'd like to see it again. I think it would be exciting. I don't know if that's something that's in the cards because of the way it ended, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea, and I think she definitely deserves a rematch. And, one of the things, when I first started working with the bare knuckle fights, I accepted the first call that Dave Feldman gave me when we had the show in Wyoming to see the safety factor of how they were going to handle the fighters. And going through all the rules and regulations with Dan Margliotti and Bill Clancy and Dave and his staff and the Wyoming Athletic Commission, we implemented some rules. But the rules that they have, that 30-second rule where the referee could stop the fight based on an injury and bring them to me or the cut man, and we have 30 seconds to work on it, and at the same time the doctor makes an evaluation. So then, knowing that I had more experience than the other cut man, brought written to me because of my experience, and he said, you have 30 seconds to make a decision. And I looked at the cut, and right off the bat, I said, I don't need 30 seconds. I'm not going to let her go out there. The cut was right on the bottom of the lid, and it was so bad that you could see the fatty tissue kind of popped out. So I don't know how the cameras picked it up, but if you see that little white spot, that's some of the fatty tissue, and that's the kind of damage where it could only affect the eye a lot more. So the decision to stop that fight was based on And I told her, she goes, "Oh, I can go one more round." I said, "No, you're not going." I said, once you look at yourself in the mirror, you're going to thank me for stopping this fight. But I think a rematch is definitely should be in the works.
It's Stitch approved. Make it happen.
Yes.
That's how that goes.
Do it.
So, and obviously the main event, we touched on it, but, I think it was so important. And like Jeff, you were saying too, like this is exactly kind of what BKFC needed, that fight, that one fight to really get everybody's juices flowing, man. Like I'm still buzzed from the fight. Here it is. We're a few days out and I'm still buzzed from it. Yeah, I guess talk about where does BKFC go from here? How important was that fight to the company?
It was something that is just going to slowly propel. I don't think it's going to, put a rocket up its ass and everything like that, because I think that's already there. But I think that we are going to see that progression, because the one thing that eventually we're going to get past, and people are going to get past, is the visual stigma pushback that the people who don't like bare knuckle fighting have. And the sad part about it is, for the ones who deem it too violent and deem it too barbaric, which I think is the absolute worst word that you could say for bare knuckle fighting, I think it's more of a superficial aesthetic that people can't seem to get past, because as far as they're concerned, when they look on their TV screen, cuts and blood is as hardcore as it gets. And, almost every fighter that has stepped foot into the squared circle, whether they be from UFC, World Series of Fighting, boxing, Bellator, Glory, it doesn't matter. They've all loved it. And if it's fighter approved, and if fighters are also getting on all these podcasts and all these chat forums and telling people that it is safer than MMA or boxing, and they're not being paid to say that. They have their own opinion on the sport itself. If they are saying that, then it's right from the horse's mouth. What else do you need?
Jeff, go ahead, Stitch.
No, go ahead. Let me add to that real quick. Also, is the thing about it with Jason Knight and Artem, they had multiple cuts. Jason had 10 confirmed cuts that had to be sewn. That doesn't happen in bare knuckle fighting. In bare knuckle fighting, if you get 2 or 3 cuts, which would be pretty common, it really kind of puts in the same category as MMA. But I do have to say that the cuts in MMA, because of the elbows and the knees, are bigger and deeper. So taking that fight away, and you might be right, Jeff. It could be safer. Those are facts and figures that we're going to have to get as the sport progresses, so that we could back it up. But and real quick, the Jason Knight and Lobov fight. You can't forget Joey Beltran and Tony Lopez when they had their first fling. So you are going to get these type of fights, and I think that's what's going to make the fans fans, is that they're going to tune into those type of fights.
Yeah, it was kind of wild because now we actually went through and did the research, and there's documented studies. We put an article out before the first event that there's multiple medical professionals that say aesthetically it looks worse, but medically it's safer. So for whatever that's worth, for the people that think it's kind of over the top,
Well, look at MMA and look at the weapons that are available to the fighters. Elbows, kicks, knees. I mean, you want to talk about blunt force trauma, that's where it lies. I mean, you're not going to see someone in bare knuckle fighting get their skull crushed in from a flying knee. Right. You're not going to see those kinds of injuries in bare knuckle fighting. I'm sure eventually there's going to be the bad injury, because it's a high risk combative sport. Yeah. But so is MMA and so is boxing. So, but we've done the number. You guys have looked at the numbers. You've looked at the statistics, and you know that especially in bare knuckle boxing, less punches are thrown. Right. And that has been a fact. That less punches have been thrown, because these fighters have to be smarter about their punches, because, with no protection, a broken hand is easier. It is easier, so that's why they have to play out their shots, and there's less blunt force trauma to the head.
And they also don't throw at full power most of the time.
Most of the time.
They gauge their power unless the one big shot is there, but overall, it makes sense if you really lay everything out in front of you and look at it. If you're just going off, this guy's cut, that guy's bleeding, all right, that looks bad. But if you lay the actual, get past that part, you lay it all out. I mean, it is there for anybody to.
Hey, we got the world's best cut man, Stitch. Jump in on this, man.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and I got to give Bobby Gunn a lot of credit because the first two fights that we had, guys did break their hands. Guys, they became a lot more, injured with their hands. But what they were doing is they were going on top of the head, and that's where they were hurting their hands. But the legend like Bobby Gunn gave a lot of these guys to say, work from the body and work up to the top of the head. From the eyebrows or from the cheek area down, anything above that, leave that alone. Because that's where the injuries would come in. But I think it's important, and it's going to take more than 5 events to actually get any kind of statistics that say that this is a way safer sport than this one,
Right.
than the other ones. But MMA, for one thing, I've noticed that, some of the fighters that I worked with years before when the UFC first came around, some of these guys are showing a little bit of signs of dementia pigmentosa, and that's the punch drunk syndrome. And yeah, we got to do a little bit more research, but safety is a big factor here. And I think once these guys learn, they're working on the bag with no gloves. They're improving, the skill level of their boxing. They're picking their shots, like Jeff said, and they're conditioning their hands a lot more to take those kind of shots, and they're not winging and throwing bombs like they used to.
Maybe when you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, has there been any concussions in the bare knuckle in the 5 events? If I'm not mistaken, no one's had the first concussion.
I don't think so.
Well, I know when we were in Cancun, Joe Riggs did go to the hospital, but I think it was more of a dehydration factor for him.
Okay.
From what I understand, Artem Lobov, they sent him to the hospital. I was speaking to him after the fights in the dressing room, and he said he had a headache. And I told him, I said, you make sure you let the doctors know, and then that way they take it from there. But you are going to get headaches because you're getting hit on top of the head. These guys were in a war.
Right.
I don't know what the results were on that, but to have a concussion, I think it's going to happen. Like Jeff says, it's a high impact sport, and it's going to happen. Just like any sport, it happens in football. Hell, it happens in soccer.
Right.
So that's inevitable in any kind of sport.
What matchups would you guys like to see go from here? What fantasy matchups?
Well, I definitely want to see Malignaggi and Lobov. Which we are going to see, and I'm really curious to see how Malignaggi is going to make that transition into bare knuckle, and I'm always fascinated as we progress forward. Anytime that we bring in somebody new, and we've got people on the other side that have already been, bare knuckle conditioned to a degree. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how these people transition against these guys who have already been with us for 3 to 5 shows already and have already kind of, shown that they've got the stuff to continue. But that's definitely one. And eventually, as far as the women, there needs to be a winner-take-all match between Christine and Beck.
Bingo. Yeah, I agree.
You guys stole all my answers. So,
is the Paulie Artem fight? Is that solid? Is that for sure gonna happen? I know he talked about it, but is that something that's somewhat set in stone?
I think they're booking it for that. It's the 22nd, somewhere in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
New England.
Malignaggi has to understand that, what he did in boxing, the boxing skills he had in boxing, which are tremendous, definitely might not even pay off in bare knuckle fighting because it's entirely different, 2 different sports entirely,
Right.
And is he going to be able to take the shots that a guy's going to give him? So we'll see. He's going to definitely have to work with somebody that's been in the system, that understands what bare knuckle fights are about and how you go about it. Skill wise, he has great hands, no doubt about it. But he's always had problems with his hands. So his hands are strong enough to hit somebody on top of the head or hit somebody on the elbow and keep on going. We'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
All right.
And not only that, but real quick, not only that, but Artem Lobov, he was in such a crucial that, we're going to have to find out whether he's going to mentally be ready to come back and physically to come back again sometime in June.
True.
Well, what we do know is it's a fight that will happen at some point. Let's say that.
Yeah.
It has to.
Absolutely.
I would put Paulie Malignaggi with somebody else first, in my honest opinion.
I agree. I totally agree. Plus, something, we're talking about all these fantastic fighters. We can't leave out our current bare-knuckle heavyweight champion, A.J. Adams. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be the next contender to take him on and, challenge his will for the Police Gazette title and the bare-knuckle heavyweight title. Right now, as far as we're concerned, A.J.'s the man. AJ's the man. Bobby Gunn is the man. Obviously, we're going to probably see more of Bobby Gunn, because Bobby is so unorthodox and battle-tested, so he's another one that would make really good fights with somebody who's a little bit more bare-knuckle. And I'm going to be honest with you. I want to see more of Shannon Rich. I want to see more. I want to see more of Shannon Rich because Shannon. I love Shannon to death. He is a character personified. He's one of the most active fighters across the board. But he did a damn good job in Cancun, and I'd like to see him matched up again.
I concur.
Yeah, I think I'd have to second that. We were just at the fight where he fought Travis Fulton, man, and the number 1 and number 2 most fights, in combat sports, and it was something else to see those two guys in the same place at the same time, man. And no, I definitely second that. I think Shannon Rich, like you said, he's a character on himself, and he's got a lot of presence, and I think he does really good in front of the camera. Not to mention he's a complete badass. So
yeah.
Not taking anything away from Travis Fulton. Taking anything away from Travis Fulton.
No.
The guy's only been fighting since he was born.
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah. Not to run him with a dead horse, but Nick did the research and we figured out we averaged, so his fight career, that he averaged a fight every 3.5 days based on
for 10 years. It was ridiculous.
Absolutely insane. Well, all right, fellas, I'll wrap this up, but it was an absolute pleasure for you guys to come on. And Jeff Houston and Mr. Stitch, obviously, you guys are so well respected, what you guys do, and we appreciate your time. We'll talk about the next one. Anything bare knuckle, you guys are definitely our go-to. But,
hey, Josh, before we cut out, I got to go ahead and throw something out there for the fans to see, because I think this is definitely something that needs to be said. I've been looking at the chat forums. I've been looking online. I was looking at the comments on the live feed that we were having on Facebook. And let's get something straight, guys. We have so many fans that are speaking against the usage of the term the squared circle. And a lot of people are getting really upset about that because, they're seeing it and they remember it as a term that was used and a saying that was used in boxing. And, they looked at that as the squared circle. And I'm going to go ahead and put all of this to rest so that everyone knows that we actually have more claim to the term the squared circle than boxing, because if you look at an overhead perspective of the squared circle, it is a square with a circle in the middle. The only problem with that is that with the overhead shot can only get so high, and the outside apron surface is so big that it's hard to see that perspective unless you go up higher on the camera angle. But I'm telling you, we have more claim to the term the squared circle than boxing, because it actually is. So to all those people who say, why are the commentators, why is the ring announcer, why is Dave Feldman, why is anybody using the term the squared circle? Because, damn it, it is.
We could second that. We were in the squared circle.
Yeah,
we were there. We were inside of it live. So,
what do you say, Stitch?
Hey, I agree, and I brag so much about the squared, so I call it the ring. I said, all my life, a boxing ring has been the ring, but it's a square. I said, this is an actual ring. I said, but what makes it so impressive to me is, as a cut man, when I go in, the gatekeeper, the second rope, there's like 5 ropes. People don't understand. The second rope is kind of it's like a hydraulic type of thing, but the gatekeeper pushes it up. I go through it, it comes right down. And then the bottom rope has like a hydraulic also. So if a fighter goes down, and a lot of them will hit the bottom, the back of their head on the rope, that rope will guide them down. So I think to me, whoever built that ring is a genius, and it's a beautiful ring, and I brag about it all the time. So I'm a big supporter of the bare knuckle fights. The Dave Feldman and the whole crew, and Jeff, I think you could attest to that. They're a first class operation. The fighters that come on board, everybody that's been there, has been very good to to each other and to the fans, and I think that's what's going to make this sport as big as it is.
And to give a shout out to the innovator and the inventor of the squared circle, that's our boy Gary Grant. Gary Grant is responsible for the squared circle actually being a thing. So it was Gary that had that vision that brought that there in the most unique fighting surface that the world has ever seen. And it's just so funny because there's also so many fight fans that don't necessarily like some of the camera angles, and I'm like, but it's a different surface from what it's shot at. In fact, I actually prefer the camera angles in the squared circle and bare knuckle than boxing or MMA. I actually think they're more clear.
Yeah,
good point. All right, fellas. Well, like I said, let's wrap this up real quick. But maybe when the card gets announced, we'll get you guys right back on here, and we'll talk about it some more. But absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Once again, Jeff Houston and Mr. Stitch. This could be your company ad right here. We have multiple sponsorship and advertising opportunities available. Please contact us at combatinsiders@gmail.com. Put the subject line advertising or sponsorship. Guys, we are joined by Dave Feldman, owner of BKFC. Obviously, they just had an awesome pay-per-view this past weekend, the biggest one ever. And of course, everybody says it's always the biggest one ever, but it really was. Artem and Jason Knight, man, what a fight. And I think I'm going to get your thoughts here in a second, but I tell you what, I kind of put it out there on social media, just my own personal thoughts. I thought Artem and Jason Knight is going to be to BKFC what Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonnar was to UFC at that time. Because that was the fight back then that kind of put them into the mainstream. And I feel like this is a similar situation. And maybe it's too early to say that, but I really feel like you guys really just kind of kicked it up into another level. Talk, man. What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that?
I agree. That was this event turned the corner for us. It absolutely did. Mainstream media covered us, right? They covered us, but they didn't accept us. We're accepted now. We are, as you saw some of the stories that went out, it's 2019 and bare knuckle boxing is ... popular.
Yeah.
Like it's happening now. And look, there were 2 bare knuckle events this weekend. And look, I'll give a shout out to my man Data 5000. He put on a good event. I'm happy to see that he put on a good event. The fighters were paid, good production, the whole 9 yards, man. All that does is lift up the sport. So it's great. It's great to see that somebody else is doing that. And that I was personally able to pave the way that now people are talking like bare knuckle boxing in a normal sentence. They're not like it's bare knuckle. They're like, oh, bare knuckle? Yeah, which one are you watching? Like, it's great. It's really absolutely amazing. And I'm happy that me and my company and my team were able to do that. But, Josh, man, it turned the corner. It was weird, man. Like, the first event was unbelievable, and a lot of people reached out to us. Second event was decent. Third event was very good. Fourth event was off the hook. The fifth event just went off the freaking charts. And, like, I wake up on Sunday morning with, 25 sponsor inquiries, 16 investment inquiries. Are you selling stock in your company? Like, it was unbelievable. That was the one we needed. And, I take my hat off to Jason Knight and Artem Loba for literally leaving every drop of blood, sweat, and tears that they had in the center of that ring.
Some of the main events, whether it's MMA, boxing, or, even bare knuckle, whatever, sometimes you kind of have to manufacture that buzz, and you kind of have to manufacture the anticipation. But with this one, it was different. I thought that I genuinely, and not because, you're here with me, and not because, it's kind of my job to watch this stuff, but I really got a genuine buzz before the show, and I'm still buzzing off of that fight. Like, there was a genuine anticipation. You guys didn't have to manufacture much. It was there, and then, of course, the fight itself happened, and it was, like you said, this was really what turned the corner for you. What were your expectations going into this fight?
I mean, I thought Artem, with the Conor McGregor Association, everything like that, was going to get us a little bit of buzz going that way.
Yeah.
And the fact that Artem left the UFC to join Bare Knuckle, not the other way around, not that he got cut.
Yeah.
And, I thought that was great, and I thought we were gaining some momentum going into this. And I knew Jason Knight was going to be tough, but in all honesty, I did not know that he had. I made a Facebook post, and I said, these two guys, it was something you can't teach. It's something you can't train for. It's something deep down inside of them. It's something that they experienced in the past in their life. It's some bad things that happened to them, some good things that happened to them. It's what they were born with. And they would rather die in the center of that ring than to quit. Either of them, both of them. Like, that's not normal. It's just not normal. Those are the exception to the rule. And I would pay those guys, whatever it needed to take to get those kind of fights on every show. It's not going to happen. But those guys are unbelievable, and they helped take Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship and the sport of bare knuckle fighting really to another level.
Agreed 1,000%. So not just from a fan perspective, but you're saying too, so from a back end, a business perspective, it was just as big, correct?
It was so big. It was so big, and I take my hat off to these guys because, look, some people are criticizing me, and we can get into that now if you want, for what I did in the center of the ring, and I got on the mic, and I was going to hold half the guy's purse. And you know what, man? Probably not the most professional thing I should have done at the time, but I don't apologize for feeling that way, and I don't apologize for wanting to do that because I put my blood, sweat, and tears, my life into this for the past 9 years, and the fighters know. Like the guy after the fight, when I told him I'm taking your money, and he said, I understand. And I said, look, man, I'm not taking your money. I can't do it. I just don't have that in me. But you deserve to get your fucking money taken. And he's like, I agree. So, I mean, it's not like I did. So I warned them. I warned them all. I warned them three rounds in a row. And look, I'm not going to take someone's money like that, but I'm never going to use a guy like that doesn't want to stand there and fight. I gave my all to make this happen. And you see now what we need. We need Artem and Jason. We need that kind of ferocity inside that ring, that kind of attitude. And, the promotion really won't settle for anything less. We'll handle it differently moving forward. And like I said, the guy got paid in full, so that's water under the bridge now. And, if people want to say things about me, and that's okay, man. Look, I acted like an idiot that night by doing that, so I should be called an idiot. But at the end of the day, I made right by the situation, as I always did. I never screwed anybody, and this company and this sport are just going to another level now, and we need more fights like we had.
I think the general consensus, just from what I saw on social media about that issue, about you get in the middle of the ring and saying all that stuff. Honestly, man, I think it's probably 70-30 positive. Just positive in the sense of I don't think most of the people hated you for it. I think a lot of people understood, and there was a lot of fighters that were defending your position on it, and maybe not so much the money part, but the part about you were essentially lighting a fire, right? You were wanting to set that example, and you were kind of lighting a fire under their ass, and that's essentially what you were doing. And somebody put it best, and I forget who it was, but someone was like, "Look, when you have hundreds of thousands or whatever it is you have invested into this company, it's your ass on the line just as much as anybody else's, man." And it's got to be successful. Like this is what you do. This is your livelihood, and you want to make sure that these guys are giving their all just like you are. And I don't think that there's a negative connotation to it. And I hope I understood. I understood exactly where you were coming from when you said it, and I get it. And I think a lot of people get it, and I think a lot of the fighters get it. And I think I maybe knee jerk, and like you said, maybe not the right exact moment, but hey, either.
I mean, I think it shows my passion, right? I mean, it's what I want, and I think the thing that a lot of people did miss, because most of the people that are saying bad things aren't really the people that were there. It's the people that heard about that I took someone's money or was going to.
Right.
But at the end of the day, what I really did say, though, and again, we'll just get past this after this, is I'm going to hold half your purse and give it to your opponent, because now your opponent wasn't able to earn his knockout bonus because you held him and ran the whole time.
Right.
That's what it was about. It wasn't really
Right.
just about I wanted to do something to this guy, but this guy tried to fight his ass off. I mean, Reggie Barnett did everything he could to create a fight and wasn't able to. So at the end of the day, look, man, I just want the fighters to perform. I give the fighters the best that I can give them. I give them top dollar. I treat them great. I give them great accommodations. I do everything I can do. I promote them well, and I expect the same in return. And if that sounds selfish, then it sounds selfish. But I expect them to give me back what I give them, and 90% of them do.
Is the Paulie and Artem fight, is that pretty much set in stone?
That's a done deal. That's a wrap. It's June 22nd in New England. We'll announce what state that's going to be in any day. But June 22nd, Paulie Malignaggi versus Artem Lobov. Probably the biggest bare knuckle fight ever in history. And I really think it's probably going to be one of the top 5 to 10 fights in any combat sport this year.
How do you think Paulie does? How do you think? Because obviously, his pedigree in regular boxing is obviously, you're right. It doesn't even need to be talked about. But how do you think? Because there is a difference. There's a huge difference between regular boxing and bare knuckle. How do you think he transitions to that world?
I mean, he is a rough, tough guy. Also, look, he's a slick boxer, but he's also a guy. He doesn't have an ounce of quit in him. Right. He doesn't. I mean, I think he fares very well in this. I think it is going to be different once he gets hit with the knuckle instead of the glove. He can't roll a punch off the shoulder because it's going to hit his shoulder. And when that punch hits your shoulder, it's going to hurt. It's not like getting it with the glove. So, I mean, I think he's definitely going to have a learning curve when it comes to this. But, he's been in with the best in the world. The best, the best of the best. Adrian Broner, he lost with decision to. Yeah. And Artem showed Saturday night that he's not quitting. So I think that's fireworks, right? I mean, I think, look, Paulie has so much to lose as well. I mean, I think that we just wrote the script for what could be another sensational fight.
Yeah, agreed, 1,000%. Dave, where do you want to see bare knuckle go from here? Because you just came off this huge show. You got another huge show in the making with Paulie and Artem on that one, but I mean, where do you go from here, man? Is it just sky's the limit?
Yeah, man. I think we have to do everything right as we do, but we have to pick some fighters. Paulie did a great service to us by we didn't get a lot of boxers yet, but by waking up the boxing world and being like, whoa, what is this sport? Because it was MMA, and now it's boxing, and now I'm getting reached out to by boxers all over the world, and where do I want to see it go? I mean, obviously, that's an easy answer. Where I want to see it go, where do I think it's going to go? I think by the end of 2019, we're going to be considered. It's going to be people are going to say boxing, MMA, and bare knuckle. I think that's going to happen by the end of 2019. I think by the end of 2020, people are going to say, "Holy shit, these guys are only 2 years old and they're a major player in combat sports right now." That's what I think is going to happen. The momentum that we're getting now and the fighters that are reaching out to us, like, I'm not going to mention who it is, but there's fighters that are quote unquote retiring from MMA and they're not retired. So we're going to be making some really cool announcements pretty soon. And it's also,
Dave, would any of those happen to be Irish?
So next, anyway, so like I'm saying, it's humbling to me and the organization that these kind of guys are reaching out to us. Like they're considering, look, this is just as good as the UFC or fighting for a world championship. This is something different. Let's fight for these guys. I mean, think about it. A week and a half ago, we got voted in as law. A year ago, a week and a half ago, we're not even a year old. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying we're making millions of dollars and we're doing this, but man, we did shake up combat sports in less than a year, and there's no stopping. This has been an unbelievable ride for me and the team, and they're just jumping on board to see where this thing goes. And I'm not saying it because I'm talking to you, but with guys like you guys supporting us and guys that really see where this thing can go, it's amazing. It's amazing, and who knows where we go? Who knows how fast we go? We want to grow at a good pace, at a steady pace, but we also don't want to go too fast and make too many mistakes. Look, we're going to make mistakes. We're new, but we're going to learn from our mistakes. And I think bare knuckle fighting, and specifically bare knuckle fighting championship, is going to be, in the next 18 months, it's going to be a player.
Well, I think that's a good kind of segue to kind of wrap it up, man. But wow, you guys are on fire, Dave, and I think it's apparent if anybody listens to you talk more than 5-10 minutes. I think you really get the sense of passion that you have for it, and I think again, the thing that happened when you're talking in the middle of the ring, it's all apparent. I think it's all kind of connected. You have a passion, and it's undeniable. And I think that you're going to take this sport to, new heights, man. I really do.
I mean, I love it. Look, I love the sport.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I love the fighters. I truly do, because any fighter that would step in that square circle and really lay it down for us, that to risk a scar for the rest of their life, for the fans, for their family, this isn't just me. If this goes to the next level, this changes my life. It changes my family's life. It changes your life. It changes Nick's life.
Yep.
It changes the fighters' lives.
Yep.
This isn't it's not just something that's fun and they gave it a shot.
Yep.
This is potentially life-changing for hundreds of people. And I'm going to push my ass off until I can change a lot of people's lives. This isn't all about me, man. This is about everybody that supported me and everybody that supports me and everybody that wants to see this thing grow. And I want to see it grow. And look, it's not about the money at all. At the end of the day, if we make some good money, it's great. It's about doing something that everybody, and I mean everybody, I even talked to my fiance today. I said, remember, everybody, including you, told me this was never going to happen? Because I was reading an article, and they say, a year ago today, they were talking about bare knuckle, and David Feldman would mention bare knuckle to anybody who would listen. He had this wild dream, and here it is. It's starting to come true, and I love it. I love the direction we're going. I truly love everybody that's supporting us, like I really, really do, because they see what I see, and who knows where the future is going to go. But Josh, man, it's been awesome. We're coming off a great event, and it's going to be a great future. And thank you for having me again to be able to express where this thing's going.
Absolutely. Dave Feldman, CEO of BKFC. Go check out the replay of BKFC 5 if you haven't already. Shame on you, but go check out the replay. You definitely won't regret it. Thanks for stopping by, Dave, and that's all we got. Wow, what an amazing show, guys. Just want to say thanks again to all of our amazing guests that took the time to come on. We appreciate them so much. And we also appreciate the viewers, you guys, for taking the time to watch the video, for sharing and liking our stuff. And please, 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 don't stop. Please share our stuff, like our stuff, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button. You know what to do. I sound like a broken record, but it helps us so much more than you know. Help us spread our passion, because this is what we love to do. We love to talk to everybody involved in the fight game, and we love to spread that word. So please help us, help us, help us. We appreciate it so much. Tune in this time next week and every week for another exciting show. We're Combat Insiders, and we're out.